Imagine a world without football, no World Cup, no Champions League, no packed stadiums, no Messi, no Ronaldo, no children arguing about their favorite team. For billions of people today, that world is almost impossible to imagine. Football is everywhere. It is watched in nearly every country on earth. It stops entire nations. It creates heroes, rivalries, and memories that last a lifetime. But every story has a beginning, and football's beginning is far stranger than most people realize, because the first football match didn't take place in a modern stadium. There were no referees, no uniforms, no TV cameras. In fact, nobody even knows the names of the people who played it. Yet somewhere in the distant past, a group of humans gathered around a ball and unknowingly started a tradition that would survive for thousands of years. The question is, where did it happen? Most people believe football was invented in England, and in a way, they're right. England created the modern version of football that we know today. The rules, the leagues, and the organized competitions all trace back to 19th century England, but football itself is much older. To find its true origins, we need to travel back more than 2,000 years to ancient China. There, historians have found records of a game called Hu, which literally means kick ball. It was played during the Han Dynasty, centuries before the Roman Empire reached its peak. Players would kick a leather ball and attempt to send it through a small opening suspended between poles. Unlike many ancient military exercises, Cuju became popular as entertainment. Soldiers played it, citizens played it, even members of the imperial court enjoyed it. It may not have looked exactly like modern football, but the core idea was familiar: a ball, a goal, skill, competition, and most importantly, people having fun. For many historians, Cuju is the closest thing we have to the earliest known form of football. But China wasn't alone. Across the ancient world, different civilizations kept inventing games involving a ball. The Greeks had a game known as episkiros. The Romans later played harpastum. Both involved teams competing over possession of a ball. The rules were different, the objectives were different, yet the pattern remained surprisingly similar. Humans seem naturally drawn to these games, and that raises an interesting question. Why? Why did people separated by thousands of miles and completely different cultures keep creating similar sports? The answer may reveal something important about human nature. Because football didn't become popular simply because of a ball, it became popular because of what the ball created: competition, cooperation, status, belonging. Excitement, the same emotions that fill stadiums today existed thousands of years ago. Long before professional players existed, long before trophies, long before football became a global obsession, and the game was about to evolve into something even bigger. As centuries passed, football-like games continued to spread across different societies, but the version that would eventually change the world emerged in medieval England. And it looked nothing like the game we know today. There were no carefully marked fields, no teams of 11 players, no yellow cards, no substitutions in many towns. Football was a massive community event. Sometimes hundreds of people participated at the same time. The field could stretch across entire villages. One side of town would compete against the other. The objective was simple: move the ball to a designated location. Everything else was negotiable. The result was often complete chaos. Players ran through streets, fields, rivers, and open land. Matches could last for hours. In some cases, injuries were common. The game became so wild that several English kings attempted to ban it. In 1314, King Edward II issued an order against football because it was causing disorder in the streets of London. Other rulers would later try the same thing. But the bans never truly worked. People kept playing because football had become something larger than a game. It had become part of everyday life. The excitement of competition, the pride of representing your community, the thrill of victory. These feelings were too powerful to erase. And so football survived for centuries. However, there was a problem. Every town had its own version of the game. Different rules, different traditions, different ways of playing. If two teams from different regions met, they often couldn't even agree on how the match should be played. Football needed structure, and that structure finally arrived in the 19th century. In 1863, representatives from several clubs gathered in London to solve the problem. Their goal was ambitious but simple: create a single set of rules that everyone could follow. The meeting led to the creation of the Football Association. For the first time, football had an official rule book. This moment is often considered the birth of modern football. Not because football was invented that year, but because football finally became organized. Now clubs could compete fairly. Now leagues could be created. Now the game could grow beyond local communities. Without realizing it, those organizers were laying the foundation for the world's most popular sport. And football's rise was astonishing. British sailors introduced the game to foreign ports. Workers brought it to new countries. Students carried it to schools and universities around the world. Wherever people gathered, football followed. Part of the reason was its simplicity. Many sports require expensive equipment. Football requires very little, a ball, a space to play, and people willing to compete. That simplicity allowed the game to cross borders unlike almost any other sport in history. Within a few decades, football had spread across Europe, then South America, then Africa, then Asia. Different countries developed different styles, different rivalries, different legends, yet the game remained recognizable everywhere. A shared language spoken without words by the 20th century, football had become a global phenomenon. The World Cup transformed national teams into symbols of pride. Players became international celebrities, matches became moments remembered for generations, billions of people began following the same sport, all because of an idea that had existed for thousands of years, a ball, a goal, a challenge. And perhaps that's what makes football so remarkable. The technology changed. Empires rose and fell. Civilizations transformed. Yet the basic appeal never disappeared. Football gives people something humans have always wanted: competition, belonging, excitement, a story to be part of. Which brings us back to the first football match. We'll never know exactly where it happened. We'll never know who scored the first goal. We'll never know who won. History lost those details long ago, but what matters is that the game survived. Somewhere, thousands of years ago, a group of people gathered around a ball. They kicked it, chased it, competed for it, and unknowingly started one of the greatest cultural traditions in human history. Today, football is watched by billions. It fills the largest stadiums on earth. It creates heroes known across continents. It unites strangers who may not even speak the same language. And it all traces back to a simple idea that humans discovered long before modern civilization: the joy of play. Because before football became a profession, a business, or a global spectacle, it was simply people coming together for a game. And in many ways, that's still exactly what it is today.